If you feel like you're wasting a lot of time and you're not as productive as you should be, it's probably because you're approaching your tasks in the wrong way. So, in this video, I want to introduce you to the most important law in productivity there is. I want to show you why it works and, most importantly, how to implement it into your life so you get more done in less time. Hi, my name is Ben. I'm a journalist and editor, which basically means I'm constantly working on very tight deadlines while juggling a ton of tasks, which has basically pushed me to level up my productivity, my self-discipline, and my focus. So I've thought about this stuff quite a lot. And the law I'm introducing here, called Parkinson's law, has helped me a whole lot with all of that. Now, what is Parkinson's law? Parkinson's law basically states that work tends to fill the time available for its completion, which means that the more time you give yourself to finish a task, the more time it will take you to actually complete it. But the great thing is, it also works the other way around, right? The less time you give yourself to finish a task, the shorter it will take you to actually complete it. That's the power of Parkinson's law. Now, an example of this would be if you give yourself all day to clean up the kitchen, it will probably take you all day, right? But if you give yourself 15 minutes, you can manage to do so in 15 minutes. There are probably other examples that come up to you right now, but you've probably experienced that in your life before. Now, why does that work? Well, the problem with giving yourself more time than you need to finish a task is that you find ways to fill that time. You are overthinking. You are procrastinating. You're kind of stuck in analysis paralysis. You are doing things that don't matter. You're adding fluff to whatever it is you want to do. You are waiting until the right moment to start. And that kills focus and that kills motivation. There's a lack of urgency. I remember back in university, we had like 6 to 8 weeks to turn in our papers every single semester at the end of it. And every single time, I wouldn't do anything for the first 4 or 5 weeks until there came the point where I was kind of panicking and thought, well, now I gotta start and I don't have any choice but doing so. That's Parkinson's law in action, right? And there were many instances where I had to pull off a couple of all-nighters towards the end of these deadlines to make it happen. And almost every single time did I only turn in these papers on the last day, which didn't feel very, very good. Had I only known what I'm telling you about right now, I would probably approach this in a very different way, right? So how can you use that information? Well, basically it's all about setting tighter deadlines, right? Whatever task you're working on, just set a deadline and set it tightly so that you are forced to be focused and to be efficient in what you're doing. And if you feel like you're still procrastinating, you're still not as productive as you should be, that's probably because your deadline isn't tight enough, right? And you can experiment with this. Obviously, you have to be kind of realistic. Like, you cannot expect yourself to write a whole book in an hour. But at the same time, you'll see every time you feel like you're wasting your time, it's probably because you're giving yourself too much time to do so. There's a method called time boxing, which really helps with this, which is basically all about just assigning a time slot to every single task in your day and making a point to get the things done inside this time slot. Right? You can use a calendar for that. And if you're like, let's go back to the kitchen example. I want to clean the kitchen now. You'll put it into your calendar, let's give it an arbitrary time slot here, from 8 to 8:30 a.m. You will do it in that time. And you'll be forced to really use your time, be focused, rather than giving yourself all day, right? And you can use that in so many different ways. At work, for example, I like to use that at work. I assign time slots to every single task I have in a day. Before doing so, I think about how much time will this take me. And it's tough to estimate that at times, but I'll tend to go to the lower end just to make Parkinson's law happen or take action here. So whenever there's a task, I think that could be like, it could take me 1 to 1.5 hours. I'm like, yeah, let's try it in 1 hour. And usually it kind of works that way. What also can help, especially when you're working on bigger tasks that will take weeks and months and years maybe, is breaking these tasks down into smaller steps and assigning time slots to these smaller steps and setting deadlines in between, so that you make sure you're still taking advantage of this law. So I could talk about this for a long time more. I could talk about this for a long time, but I don't want to waste your time with theory here. I would urge you to try it for yourself. If you haven't tried that before, or if you've tried it in some areas of your life, try it in different areas as well, and see how it forces you to be more focused and more productive. Because in my experience, you don't need anything else. Once you put yourself on a deadline, all the other stuff, everything else falls into place, just because you're forced to think differently, right? And sometimes a good question for this could be, how could I do this in half of the time, right? If it usually takes you 2 hours to finish a certain task, ask yourself, could I do this in 1 hour or maybe half an hour? And that will create like this creativity inside yourself, and you'll come up with new solutions. And sometimes it doesn't work. I get that. Again, you cannot write a whole book in an hour, right? But it will force you to find new ways and to cut out all of the fluff, which is basically what is holding you back here. Now I think that's enough for today. I hope this helps. If so, I'd be glad if you subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you very soon. Goodbye.